Hi there, dphog. So today we're going to talk about golden hour, and a friend of mine, Mark Wallace, he did a video on how to fake golden hour, and this kind of spun off in the inspiration for how I treat golden hour differently to what most people typically know as golden hour. Generally what I'll do is, if the sun is still in the sky, I'll hunt for the shadows. So here's a wonderful example from an old shoot. This first image was shot probably an hour to 2 hours later than the next image that's going to come up. And what's pretty cool about that is that the first image I needed to use full flash to clean up, and the sun is directly shining on the back of the subject, whereas the other image, as I said, 2 hours earlier, the sun was still quite a bit higher in the sky, but nonetheless, using my technique of hunting for the shadows while the sun is still in the sky, what I'll do is I'll keep the sun at the subject's back and a barrier, usually a wall or a tree, whatever's nearby in your shoot, I'll put that between the sun and the subject. So effectively what happens is that when shooting into the shadows, you are increasing the light sensitivity, either opening up your aperture or increasing ISO, whichever one it may be. And you'll notice between these two pictures that the wonderful thing is that in both of them, there's this beautiful subtle halo on the back of the subject. Now, that's one of the keys to natural light shooting in these, not necessarily golden hour, but in these subtle lighting situations. You want to pick up the very, very subtle nuances of light that you might not necessarily see if you don't slow down and have a look at your environment. But I can promise you one thing, that if it's in the late afternoon and the sun anywhere from, well, let's say if we take 12 o'clock as being straight up in the middle of the sky, halfway in between. So whatever it is in your area or time zone or part of the world, if the sun is sort of at 45 degrees to the horizon and below, you can probably start using this technique, and by utilizing this, you manage to extend golden hour for yourself. So in the beginning I said that this is one of the great levelers, and the reason why it's one of the great levelers is when you look at that picture, the difference between those two pictures, the one had a very expensive Ranger pack, state-of-the-art for professionals around the world. You're either using Pro Photos or Elenchroms or whatever it is, your mobile flash power unit. It's expensive, we all know that, and it's very necessary in some situations. But on the other picture, I'm getting almost an identical result just using available light. And the kicker is, I mean, it's a wonderful surprise to know that this was probably done, as I say, when the sun's still at 45 degrees. It's nowhere near as subtle as you think. Hunt for those shadows and you're getting some great results. Okay, so let's get back to the current shoot that we're filming. So generally, what I like to do with golden hour is to avoid the sun, to get rid of those golden sunsets, and to treat it as possibly the greatest leveler that there is in photography, because a more beautiful light you simply will not get. That's just undeniable. The other thing that I like to do then, once the sun has dipped below the horizon, then that's when I really enjoy the light. That's when I take my subject and I treat the sun that's just dipped below the horizon, I treat that as my key light. So in the first instance, my subject will have their back to the sun when it's still up in the sky, and when it's dropped below the horizon, then subject will face towards the sun. I won't say it's a similar effect because you're not getting the halo around the outside, but the beautiful subtlety of the light is incomparable when you are looking for mood. It's absolutely a wonderful time of day, and with modern cameras the way they are today, in the past we would have thought that as soon as the sun dips below the horizon we have to put our cameras away, but now you're bumping your ISO and you are shooting for half an hour, 45 minutes after the sun has dropped below the horizon. So there's a wonderful opportunity, a space and time over there in the afternoon to get some of the most exquisite light, and it's all within the said golden hour, except with these techniques you're extending your golden hour to about 3 or 3.5 hours of really quality shooting in the afternoon. And as I say, the great leveler is that in a lot of these circumstances you don't even need any artificial light sources to clean it up. Just on a closing note, an effect that we'll probably go into in a later tutorial is once again mimicking and making that 3.5 hours of golden hour time that we've just explained now. We're going to show you a technique to extend that golden hour look even longer. I like to call it tunneling light. So whatever light is available on the day, we take it and we sculpt it from morning till noon till night to exactly the way we want it, and delivering exactly the results you want all day long, and a lot of the time without even the use of artificial light. So thanks for listening to this one. Subscribe, and subscribe. We'll really appreciate it.